I should turn this light on too. Wouldn't have to turn on the light if I didn't block the whole window with books. All right, this is new book arrivals number 298, day 8 of my book extravaganza, where I try to purchase 200 books on my 9-day vacation. Not just 200 books, but thrift books, cheap books, and I'm managing to do so. I'm at 192 now. Yeah, 192 books. I need 8 more tomorrow, or I could go back out tonight and try to get them, but we'll see what happens. Probably would be smart to do it tonight. Prince Philip's Century, 1921 to 2021. The Extraordinary Life of the Duke of Edinburgh. And pretty sure that this guy's been connected to the Illuminati, so that's the main reason why I bought it. I don't really give a shit about British aristocracy. Prince Philip's Century. Didn't he just die? Isn't he like 200 years old and lives off the blood of infants? Anyway. Guadalupe, a handbook on Guadalupe. To me, Guadalupe and the Mother Mary and all those are all the same, but that's because I'm ignorant. I don't know which is which. See, there's another Fatima book. I've been collecting Fatima, Guadalupe, Virgin Mary sort of books for quite a while now. I've got a good a milk crate full of them. So, as I said, I don't really know what they're about. The Motherhood of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Juan Diego, the Indian, is passing at the foot of Tepeyac Hill. Suddenly, the hill is enveloped in rays of light. The air is filled with songs and music. He halts in his steps. He looks, he listens, he sees Mary, and Mary tells him, "Know for certain, littlest of my sons, that I am the perfect and perpetual Virgin Mary, mother of the true God, through whom everything lives, the mother of all things, near and far, the master of heaven and earth. I wish and intensely desire that in this place my sanctuary be erected. Here I will demonstrate, I will exhibit. I will give all my love, my compassion, my help, and my protection to the people." The humorous Mr. Lincoln, Irish soldiers, dead skunks, and other stories. A self-portrait of the backwoods boy who became president of the United States. Here is this. MCMLXV. What is that? 54? 64? I don't understand why people still use that shit. But they do, so. To Carl Sandburg, who wrote the Lincoln Symphony, in love and gratitude for what he has given me in his books and of himself. All right. Bloody Murder. Julian Simons, from the detective story to the crime novel. When it appeared in 1972, Bloody Murder was greeted as the classic study of crime fiction, a book heartily recommended to anyone who has ever enjoyed a detective story or a crime novel. As Kingsley Amis wrote, "This thoroughly revised edition is bang up to date, considering the work of all important writers to emerge since 1972, P.D. James, Ruth Rendell, George V. Higgins, Charles McCary, Dick Francis, and many more." What do you got, bruv? It's been a long time since I found any money in books. This is a very interesting one. Street Corner Society, William Foote White, enlarged edition. This new enlarged edition contains an appendix of over 80 pages describing the methods, procedures, and interviewing techniques used by the author in gathering his material. A significant addition to a sociological classic. Wayne State University. In the heart of Eastern City, there is a slum district we call Cornerville, which is inhabited almost exclusively by Italian immigrants and their children. To the rest of the city, it is a mysterious, dangerous, and depressing area. For 3.5 years, William Foote White lived in Cornerville for 18 months with an Italian family to get an intimate view of family life and to establish contacts with the community. He learned Italian to be able to talk with the older generation. He joined the second generation's activities, bowled and played baseball and softball and cards. I will not stop. Ever tell me to stop. Don't you ever tell me to stop. What's up, brubs? Yeah, that's pretty cool, buddy. Street Corner Society. Like and donate $17 million to my fund so I never have to go back to work. Do it. Actually, hate and unsubscribe. The Racketeer in Cornerville. Hockey 365. Daily stories from the ice. Mike Comito. Wasn't Comito a hockey player? Is a hockey historian and writer. His work has appeared on The Athletic, Sportsnet, and Vice Sports. And in the hockey news, he lives in Sudbury, Ontario. Randy Holt's penalty-filled period, 1979. Over the course of 10 seasons in the National Hockey League, there were very few times that defenseman Randy Holt shied away from taking on a fight. Although he was not diminutive by hockey standards, he was often at a size disadvantage compared with some of the hulking opponents he took on. Nevertheless, Holt never backed down and earned a reputation as a scrappy and pugnacious player who was not afraid of anybody. As a result, given his propensity for dropping the gloves, Holt often spent more time in the penalty box than on the ice. In fact, during a contest against the Philadelphia Flyers on March 11, 1979, as a member of the Los Angeles Kings, he racked up more penalty minutes than any other player in NHL history. Late in the first period of that game, a bench-clearing brawl erupted between the two teams. At the center of the melee was none other than Randy Holt, who was engaged in a bout of fisticuffs with Paul Holmgren. By the time referee Wally Harris had everything under control, he had assessed 352 minutes in penalties to both teams, but nobody had more than Holt. The Kings blue liner was given 9 penalties. What? 1 minor, 3 majors, 2 10-minute misconducts, and 3 game misconducts for a grand total of 67 minutes. It set league records for most penalties in one period, most penalty minutes in one period, and most penalty minutes in one game. By the end of the regular season, Holt had accumulated 282 penalty minutes, surpassing his previous career high. What do you got, bruv? Not surprising, given that nearly a quarter of those infractions were incurred during his extracurricular activities in that infamous game against the Flyers. 3 views of man. Perspectives from Sigmund Freud, B.F. Skinner, and Carl Rogers. Robert D. Nye. Hey, it's like a big old skull of 3 dudes. Fuck this. The Friendly Shakespeare, a thoroughly painless guide to the best of the bard. Whoa, there he is. Wonder if they got anything on Grimalkin in there. I doubt it. No index. Critics' comments on the sonnets. The sonnets. Had Southampton seen all of these sonnets, he might well have been amazed at the immensity of the feelings he had inspired. Probably Shakespeare put many of them in his private drawer. About all that one can get out of the sonnets, considered as transcripts of experiences, the reflection that pederastic infatuations with beautiful and stupid boys are probably very bad for practicing dramatists. Wait, is this real? Are all the sonnets written to a dude? Shakespeare, a husband, a father, a moral man, addressed 120, nay, 126 amorous sonnets to a male object. Chalmers resolved his dilemma with the happy conclusion that the 126 sonnets addressed to the fair young man must really have been written for Queen Elizabeth, since she was often considered a man. Homosexuality. No, I know nothing about the joys of homosexuality. My friend Oscar Wilde no doubt can tell you all about that, but I must say that if Shakespeare asked me, I would have to submit. I didn't know that. Isn't this that fucking dude from Shrek? It looks just like that motherfucker. Guy from Shrek. Who is that? Richard III? I mean, he might have been good looking, but Jesus Christ. That's a bad look. He's gonna look like fucking he's got dog ears. According to members of the Richard III Society, Richard was good looking. What was his name? Richard III? Being a member of the Richard III Society must be a little like belonging to the Al Capone fan club. Members are continually forced to defend their hero. Ricardians insist that Richard was neither crippled nor humpbacked, and they are passionately dedicated to proving that Shakespeare's portrait of the inhuman monster is based on the Tudor propaganda used to bolster Henry VII's weak claim to the throne. They believe that Richard was framed for the murder of the princes, and that his alleged crimes are part of a 100-year smear campaign. This book I got for free, but just dial a number. Edith Maxwell. A prank phone call leads to terror. Kathy gasped into the phone. It was only a prank call dialed at random, a joke played by 4 teenagers fooling around. But what happened afterwards plunged them into a nightmare. By the next morning, 2 people were dead because of that phone call. Keeping their guilt secret, Kathy, Todd, Paul, and Dee Dee had to live with the terror of being found out. Jane Langton. Dark Nantucket Noon. I like the cover. Usually don't like crime novels, but this one has a good cover. It's vintage, and yeah. It was a dark moment on Nantucket in more ways than one. An eclipse of the sun turned the daytime into chillingly unnatural night, and when the light returned, the most beautiful woman on the island lay dead in a pool of blood. Down home Yankee sleuth Homer Kelly has to prove the innocence of a sexually betrayed girl with every reason to kill, and he has to discover who among the rich and righteous Nantucket upper crust descended to the depths of murder, with striking line drawings by the author to heighten the sense. Wait, are these striking? I saw a few, but I mean, is that striking? God damn. That's not striking. That's average. Your average illustration. That's nothing near striking. Not saying they're not good, but Jesus Christ, to say they're striking. Come on now, bruv. I got 2 more of these little short introduction books, one for autism and one for Northern Ireland, which seem worlds apart, but who knows? Maybe there's a lot of autistics in Northern Ireland. Regardless, I now have a collection of these that are scattered around this house. I don't know where the hell the rest of them are, but I don't know where half the shit I have is. I always said I'd never buy a book by Robert Bly or Robert Creeley, the two of the worst poets in the history of the written word. But since I picked up that book the other day on Vallejo and who's that guy, Neruda, which was edited by Bly, I figured I've already broken the curse. So I picked up Iron John, a book about men. I study their lives on a leaf. All right, I already gave up. This book I believe I already have. I'm pretty sure I know I have it. The Gang on Kendall Street, a 50s memoir, growing up in Henry Ford's hometown, which is Dearborn, Michigan. Is it signed by the author? No. Bob Beer, man. What's up, Casino? What do you got? Kidnap caper. Why does it smell like cake in this house? Lions, hearts, leaping does. Is that does or does? The hell does that say? Lions, Hearts, Leaping Does, and Other Stories by J.F. Powers. I have no clue who J.F. Powers is, but there was a story called The Devil Was the Joker, so that's why I got this. Oh, the cover fell off. That's the problem with these Time Life covers. Time Inc. They put out a bunch of paperbacks in like the 70s. But all these covers, and I have an Aldous Huxley one, all these covers fall off. I don't know what the deal is. If you open them to any degree, the fucking cover falls off. I should have known you'd be breakfast, Father, but I was at your mass, and I said to myself, that must be Father Berner. Then I stayed a few minutes after mass to make my Thanksgiving. Fine, Father Berner said. Breakfast? Had it, Father. Thanking you all the same. Really disappointed that the cover fell off, though. I would not have got it. Goethe's Faust. I already have this copy, but every time I see Faust's... a copy of Faust, I will buy it, even if it has highlighting. Better just to read it that way, even though I have a nice hardcover that I use. And I spilled something all over it, so I like that edition better. But I will always buy Faust. He's a champ. Children of the Night. Stories of ghosts, vampires, werewolves, and lost children. Edited by Martin H. Greenberg. The weird thing is the first story is called Boobs. So I noticed it when I picked up the book, but I didn't inquire. I don't know if boobs is a name for some kind of creature, but we'll find out. The thing is, it's like your brain wants to go on thinking about the miserable history midterm you have to take tomorrow. But your body takes over, and what a body. You can see in the dark and run like the wind and leap parked cars in a single bound. Of course, you pay for it the next morning, but it's worth it. I always wake up stiff and sore with dirty hands and feet and face, and I have to jump in the shower fast so Hilda won't see me like that. Not that she would know what it was about, but why take chances? So I pretend it's the other thing that's bothering me. So she goes, come on, sweetie. Everybody gets cramps. There's no reason to go around moaning and groaning. What are you doing to get out of school just because you've got your period? If I didn't like Hilda, which I do, even though she is only a stepmother instead of my real mother, I would show her something that would keep me out of school forever. And it's not fake either. But there are plenty of people I'd rather show that to. I already showed that dork, Billy Linden. Hey, boobs, he goes in the hall right outside homeroom. A lot of kids laugh naturally, though Rita Fry called him an asshole. Billy is the one that started it, sort of, because he always started everything. Him with his big mouth at the beginning of term. He came barreling down on me, hollering, "Hey, look at Bornstein. Something must have happened to her over the summer. What happened, Bornstein? Hey, everybody, look at Boobs Bornstein." He made a grab at my chest, and I socked him in the shoulder, and he punched me in the face, which made me dizzy and shocked and made me cry, too, in front of everybody. I mean, I always used to wrestle, and the fight with boys being that I was strong for a girl, all of a sudden it was different. He hit me hard to really hurt, and the shock sort of got me in the pit of my stomach and made me feel nauseous, too, as well as mad and embarrassed to death. I had to go home with a bloody nose and lie with my head back and ice wrapped in a towel on my face and dripping down my hair. All right, I guess we're not going to find out why it's called Boobs in a story of fucking vampires and ghosts. It's a weird start, especially even weirder that a guy. Does he edit this or who wrote this story? Susie McKee Charnas. Well, at least it wasn't a guy that wrote the story, Boobs. But I recognize the Sheridan Lefanu, who wrote one of the earliest vampire stories. So I assume that it is some of these stories. Maybe Lefanu, I'm thinking of somebody else. The child that went with the fairies. Who the hell is Susie McKee? Anyway, like I said, it's better than a dude writing about some adolescent girl's boobs. The scientist who first proved secondhand tobacco smoke dangerous. Wow, what a fucking genius that was. Hey, you're ingesting smoke. It's not good for you. What a shock. I mean, anybody who really believed that smoking would not harm you is absolutely insane. Exposing the AIDS Scandal by Paul Cameron. I've always thought that AIDS was a manufactured virus placed into society to kill people. And at the time, when it happened, being gay was not thought of as a normal occurrence, so it seemed like a convenient way to get rid of some people. And I do believe that the government, and of course, Anthony Fauci was part of causing the pandemic of AIDS. Is it a pandemic? Epidemic of AIDS. We know what the media has told us. Now it's time to find out the truth. This well-researched and candid expose dares to present real facts, placing the blame of this disease precisely where it falls, on the shoulders of willfully promiscuous homosexuals and our timid government. So they're blaming. So this book's blaming it on the homosexuals and not the government. The author analyzes the blunders of Surgeon General C. Everett Koop. He reveals how Koop has misled the public about how AIDS is transmitted. He exposes the homosexual community's sinister success in controlling government health officials and how the gay community is succeeding in its evil agenda of legitimizing perversion in the eyes of youngsters. I take it Dr. Cameron wasn't sympathetic with the LGBT, even though it wasn't called that back then. You'll be shocked at how our government has given in to homosexual pressure that AIDS is a civil rights problem, not a civilization-threatening plague. AIDS is being treated differently from all other infectious epidemics in history, for which we are now facing devastating consequences. I wouldn't say I have a lot of books on AIDS, but I have probably 10 or 15. I usually only get the older ones just because nobody really knew what was going on, so it's kind of more knee-jerk accusation and stuff. Fatima, a message more urgent than ever. And there were 2 copies of this. They seemed to be the same book, but they had different covers, so I opted for the one that was in better shape. And this will go in my... Oh, what's that say? Palestine. Like in Palestine 2,000 years ago, the Fatima apparitions had ceased being a local event, a strange case involving 3 uncultured children from the highlands, to become a national event with repercussions beyond the country's borders among Portuguese soldiers stationed in France. It's just the three kids. In 1917, Our Lady appeared in Fatima, Portugal. So that's how Fatima got her name. For 6 consecutive months, from May to October, to 3 shepherd children, Lucia, Dos Santos, Francisco, and is it Jacinta or Jacinta Marto. They were 10, 9, and 7 years of age. So this is how the Fatima came about, was by 3 kids. I guess it does make sense, since the whole spiritualism came about by the Fox sisters, who were what, 10 and 12? Maybe they were older than that. Crazy. Born to be Hanged. The epic story of the gentlemen pirates who raided the South Seas, rescued a princess, and stole a fortune, by Keith Thompson. Is he winking? You fucking skull winking at me. Look at this guy. I got my baseball hat. In 1680, more than 300 daring, hardened pirates, a potent mix of low-life scalawags and a rare breed of gentlemen buccaneers, gather on a remote Caribbean island with a plan to wreak havoc on the Pacific coastline. From there, the company, comprising primarily Englishmen, crosses Panama on foot, slashing its way through the Darien Isthmus, one of the thickest jungles on the planet, and aiming to liberate a native princess along the way. After reaching the South Sea, the buccaneers plunder the Spanish Main in a series of historic assaults, often prevailing against staggering odds and superior firepower. In search of both gold and fame, they will raid cities, mines, and ships alike as they maraud up and down the continent with the ever-present threat of the gallows for anyone captured. All right, that's all. That's all you get, unless you pay me $30,000 to continue. Going once, twice.